Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the podcast. It's about video games. It's about time someone's doing a video game podcast these days, putting it on the internet. The podcast named Arcade Parlor. Welcome in, everybody. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. This is episode 20. Episode 20. Wow. I've been doing this for 20 months. It's a lot of months, guys. It's a lot of months. Today's date is April 6, 2024. The time is 3:45 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and we want to thank you, send a thanks to those who are joining us live today on twitch.tv/arcade parlor. And we also want to say thank you to those who are catching the episode release as early as Monday, April 8th. I want to say thank you for listening to us and coming and joining us. Episode 20, though. We've been doing this for a long time, guys. Episode 20. Wow. We've had a lot of cool guests on here. Super excited about our guests today. We'll get to you in just a moment here. Let's go ahead and start around the room, though. Ashley, hello. One of the OGs here.
I'm the only other OG here. It's kind of crazy though to think that it's 20 episodes. Like, you think back to all the legends that we've had on the podcast, and it's pretty insane the journey that we've gone through. Even Pops was a guest at one point when he was a wee baby. He wasn't even a partner yet.
I was going to say the best episode to this day, the Pops episode.
That was one of the top ones. That's why we asked you to become a host. We were thinking, I think actually it's been over is this your 1 year of being host on Arcade Parlor, I think, or was it May?
Close to it. I think maybe the guest, I don't know. It was a while. No, I think you're right. It could be a year. But what's fun is that the conversations fly by. I don't think we've had too many repeat conversations going down these rabbit holes. And I like that we call it a video game podcast, but there's 50% of it is discussing why meatball subs are terrible and, going down that rabbit hole. I know you love meatball subs. I'm poking the bear right now. But for real, I've been thinking about this since our last episode. Meatball subs are a terrible stream food. And the fact that that's your go-to, it can get so messy so quickly, the meatball sub. And you got to go something more bite size, maybe chicken nuggets, the perfect stream food. I'm just saying, it's my opinion. I feel like I've
eaten a meatball sub at least 3 times. On stream, and it's been a pleasant experience each time. So I would recommend maybe you should try it before you dog on it. Okay.
I don't, there's a good chance I live the rest of my life and never eat a meatball sub again. Cause I'm never going into Subway and going, give me your meatball sub. I don't see a situation where that's coming up for me.
Is the meatball sub the only good sub at Subway?
Honestly, I was just thinking the same thing.
You get the meatball too?
No?
The thing is, we have 2 Subways here in Belgium, so I don't know. But I don't think so, no.
Have you had it, though?
Yes. I had it. And then I had, there was another one. What was it? With these things that they call meat, but it doesn't really look like it. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's way too perfect and weird. I don't. Anyways, it was yummy. So, you gotta eat it. But I don't think the meatball was the winner. No, I don't think so.
I remember. I think it's Ireland. Ireland said that Subway can't technically call their bread. They have to call it cake because there's so much sugar in it or something.
That's correct. Yeah.
So legally on their marketing, it has to be called a cake of some sort.
There was another controversy back in the day, a few years ago, where they were Subway's bread is made with the same material as yoga mats. Do you remember that? And they had to change their bread. Welcome to American food.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
What is true is that many of these things, you don't get them here in Europe as well. Either they have to change it completely, or they have to change the names, or even the product itself, because that wouldn't fly here at all. I think for sandwiches here, you want, normally you don't find that the regular sandwich bread. It's a little bit more rare here and uncommon. And the ones you do, they're not as sugary. Like they're not sweet. It's totally different. Totally,
That sounds
totally
good.
different.
We just here in the States, we just put like nuclear orange cheese into cans and call it okay, and we love it.
I have seen that. I grew up in Colombia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the 80s and 90s, so we would get most of the things imported from the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this time where like anything that came from abroad was like, oh my God, this is amazing. You have to try it. It was not. One of the things that they started importing was also like that cheese thing that it's kind of like
The
spray. I don't know.
Yeah.
Spray cheese.
I don't know. That.
It is a thing. Yeah.
It's awful. It's awful. It's
I don't think I'll ever eat that
cheese.
again either.
Was it cheese whiz?
No.
Is that what they call it? Cheese whiz?
Yeah,
I think
cheese
that's what
whiz.
it
I
is.
think so. Yeah.
I used to love it as a kid, and then one day I went to the grocery store and I bought a huge can of it, and I ate the whole thing in like one sleepover at my friend's house, and that was
Never
it.
again.
I'm like, you know what? I'm never eating this again. So I went from loving something, overdid it. It's done. It's dead to me now, like the meatball sub. Terrible.
Are you still friends with that person, or that ended the friendship too?
Believe it or not, it is like my oldest friend that I have, and
okay.
recent betrayal by him. I won't get into that, but yeah, it's
We may
menace.
get into it.
we may get into it. But my oldest friend since kindergarten chose my wife over me. Weird thing to say on a podcast, but here we are.
I'll be honest. I don't know where to go from there.
Threw you at goldfish.
Let's back up a little bit. Ashley, we were saying hello to you. Okay, we were saying hello to you. Ashley, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. This week was a month since I got partnered, which is so cool. I was still riding the wave, and I'm not used to seeing the check mark in chats and stuff quite yet, but it's been a really incredible month, and I'm very, very humbled, by how many people have been so supportive. And some people were like, oh, don't, Ashley, when you get partner, the hype's gonna die. Everyone's like, oh, okay, she got it, she doesn't need me anymore. And I was like, okay, well, thanks for that. But it's been incredible. I'm so very thankful for everyone that helped me get here.
Well, it's lovely to have you here on episode 20. Absolutely lovely to have you here. Going around the room, Pops. Yo.
What up? It's WrestleMania weekend. I am super excited. The wife is not in a good mood for obvious reasons, but that's okay. I prepped her for this weekend and get to do a podcast, get to learn the history of an absolute legend with the coolest accent and voice. Like,
True.
It's going to be hard for me. I know it's hard to hear this because I talk a lot, way too much, but I'm just going to sit back and listen to that silky soothed voice and listen to the journey. I'm super pumped. This episode is going to be incredible. It's going to be a great weekend. I am excited.
Well, Pops, it's great to have you here again on episode 20, and maybe a year. I didn't actually look. I probably should have looked ahead of time, but maybe a year being in the host seat
happy
here.
Maybe a year.
Yeah, happy maybe a year.
Maybe a year. Does it sound like I have an accent? Like, do you hear? Like, do I just sound American Yankee or?
I just want to intervene for a second and just want to say that I'm going to start a campaign hard for Pops to be on every podcast from now on. So we are, you know what we're going to do? This is going to be all a campaign just to see if the next podcast will also include him. All right. And we need a definitive answer at the end. And that's how hard we're going to go into this. That's it. That's my whole contribution to the whole thing is going to be that.
I'm in.
It's been
I'm
a great
vouching for
internship.
this hard.
It's been a long internship. How's that? Been a very long one.
I'll take it.
And that brings us to our guest. Very excited here to have Dangil joining us all the way. Our first international guest, by the way, from across the sea, from the United States, where we are all based out of. Dangil, welcome aboard.
Hey, thank you so much. Yeah, it's I'm here. I'm in Belgium, and I'm super excited to be here. Like I'm incredibly excited, but mostly honored to be here. Thank you so much for reaching out and telling me, inviting me, because this is great. I love it. The moment Poncho said like, "Hey, do you wanna maybe what, dude? Of course, I'm already there. What's the
Your Discord already?
Yeah, exactly. What time is it for you in Belgium right now for our listeners? The time difference.
9:54 p.m.
Okay, so that's 6 hours ahead. Now, you just had the weird time zone change, right? Though, where you were ahead of us for like 7 hours for like a month, and now you're back to 6 hours ahead of us or something.
No, it was the opposite.
Is it the opposite? Okay.
The thing is that we both do this time change, right? And it happens in March, and it happens in October, November, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, we are not that off from each other. It's usually like a week, maybe, sometimes even the same weekend, and then it happens. For some reason, this year was a 3-week gap between you guys and we.
What?
So what we did, right? So at some point we were only 5 hours off, and it was 3 weeks. But we just changed last Sunday, I think, and now we're back to regular 6, which should be the norm, which is terrible. Like, this affects a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about streams and the things we do, right? This affects your stream a lot, like much more than you imagine. The whole back and forth thing, and it's like, hey guys, listen, we're gonna be, you're always gonna have that person coming to chat and saying like, you're super early today, or I've been here for an hour, and there's MadgeLate, like, where are you?
Yeah, MadgeLate, yeah.
Where's my gaming?
Dude, it's the same time for me. Nothing has changed. I'm so sorry. There's an announcement. I mean, I can't do much more than that. So yeah, it just happened. But yeah.
What is time change for? I know we talked about it, but it still bugs me. Like, who is this? Is it for farmers? Because there's like 7 farmers in the world, and there's a million other people.
Technically,
they can adjust.
Technically, but the studies.
Belgium too?
Sorry, what?
They say in Belgium too that it's for the farmers.
So the whole idea was, I believe that the one who was campaigning for this the hardest was probably France. The thing is that this started happening and caught on, and then people were like, okay, let's do this, because technically it was good for the time when it happened, and it was convenient at the time, and it made sense. But this is a thing that ever since like the 70s, this doesn't make any sense anymore. Like, it's time to stop it. And there are studies about pets being affected by it. Just like your
affected by it.
Yeah, believe it or not, like, your pets are like, because for them, they don't have the time. They don't check the time of day on the internet. They just have this internal thing, so they kind of sense things. And if you're suddenly moving their, I don't know, playing time or your food time, they get also pretty off. So it's pets, it's people. There's like higher percentage of heart conditions because of this. There's a lot, and we're still doing it.
Every year in America, they tell us they're going to put a stop to it, and every year we still do it again. And I'm like, I thought we were done. I thought this was over, and they're like, no, it's still in Congress or something. I'm like, this. We all agree. I have never met. There's probably one farmer that's sitting there laughing like, deal with it, suckers. But like, I've never met that guy. Everyone hates it universally.
Yeah, I mean, that guy's happy, so I guess we do it for that guy. So random farmer, we do it for you, I guess.
I'm even trying to think, like, because it was a 3-week ordeal for you to go through. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm even thinking, like, obviously for stream, that's complicated because you have everybody who's like, where are you at? I'm even just trying to think of, like, in the business world, like, oh, they haven't started work yet. We're trying to get answers, from people on the other side. They're part of your business, but they're over there. They haven't even started work yet, or whatever. Like that's even like for 3 weeks of like kind of an awkward whatever that you gotta kind of dance around and stuff.
It is terrible. Like, I worked once as a project manager for a translation firm. That was years ago, right? And we had to coordinate with like people all around the world, like getting translators, getting interpreters, whatever. It was horrible because you never know actually when is the good time to reach them. So you have to. It's a lot of extra steps, and yeah, it just makes everything much more difficult. Yeah.
I go through the same thing at my job because I work in a different time zone. So, and in America, like, there's states that do participate in daylight savings, and there's ones that are like, we don't feel like it, and so you just like never know. Like I work in insurance, and like I start 2 hours earlier than everybody else in my office does. So then when it's daylight savings, I have to like check what state people live in if I could call them, and also, by the way, the dog. I'm happy you mentioned the pet thing because I thought I was nuts because I have 2 dogs. Let me tell you something. They're on a very regimented food schedule, and I didn't create it. They did. So it'll be 11:00, and the crying starts, and the peeking, like, past my desk starts. So when the time change happens, like, I'm like, do I change them, and do I let them cry for an hour? And
come on, America, you're supposed to change them also, like, gradually, but you can't do it like they don't know, and we tend to forget these things, right? It's like it's the simplest thing, but yeah, it's terrible for everybody.
I have 2 kids, 4 and a 1-year-old, and that always makes it fun. I mean, they over the years they've done pretty well, like going to bed, or I'm sorry, waking up. The going to bed, my oldest, she's starting to realize, she's like, but the sun is still out. Like, whereas it wasn't like 2 days ago before the time change happened. Like, yeah, it's out, but it's also bedtime because we want to have a couple hours where we could just sit and do nothing. So sorry.
It was going to this be like they were going to get rid of it here in Europe. They started a whole campaign in the late 2010s, and it was because if something that big is going to change in one of the European countries, part of the European Union, like they kind of have to agree, right? And so they proposed this thing, and it was like, okay, let's do it, let's make it happen. And what we're going to do is that each country in the European Union is going to choose which one of the 2 times they want to keep, right? And the idea was to get rid of it by 2020. So 2020 was the last year, the last change. Wow. And then what happened in 2020. And then the whole focus shifted to that. And of course, all the, resources and all the conversation was about, like the whole situation and the state of the world. And then that got forgotten and filed probably. And that's it. Like we don't hear about it anymore anyway. So I don't know. But yeah.
Bigger fish to fry.
Punch, I have a question for you. As a grown man with no kids, because I'm too selfish, I often wondered how hard or easy is it to like do the Christmas thing, like to sneak the presents down, or like, let's say the tooth fairy, because I would be panicking if I had a kid and I had to like extract the tooth from under the pillow, because I never once, I always woke up and this is magic, this is insane, and I was heartbroken if I got caught in the act. Or do you have like a lie planned? Like, oh no, like, look what I found. Oh, I swear I just saw, like, is this easy? Or do you not stress it? Or like, because I would be sweating if I had to be.
Fairy's not real?
Well,
I'm sorry, Ashley. It might be. It could be.
The first thing is, I have a 4-year-old. She hasn't lost any teeth yet. They're not losing teeth at 4 years old yet. So we haven't gotten that far yet.
Yes and no, Punch.
Hopefully I planted this anxiety now. He's like, I didn't even think about this. Holy smokes.
Yeah,
like,
thank you very much. Now Poncho's going to be terrified.
Yeah. Well, Christmas stuff, we don't really do like setting all the gifts out the night before, like on Christmas Eve. Like we'll wrap it and we'll just put it under the tree. Like that's just kind of what we do. I grew up with the presents getting put under on Christmas Eve. My wife, I think at least she grew up this way, where they just kind of, the things were just there under the tree and stuff like that. And so we just can kind of do it. So that kind of takes any stress from like hiding. The only hiding we have to do is like put it maybe temporarily in the crawl space till we can wrap the gifts or something like that. Which, speaking of which, I was in the crawl space the other day and I found a gift that we forgot to wrap. I'm like, oh,
no
this
way.
is just sitting in here.
Was it for you?
No. It was like a little Target shopping cart or something like that for my youngest to push around, because she likes pushing things right now at her age. And I was like, oh yeah, this is still in here. We got to figure out how to get this to her now before she gets too old for it. Yeah. So we don't really deal with, at least right now, sneaking, to get things kind of a surprise or whatever. My oldest, think she thinks Santa might be real. I don't know. We don't really like. I don't have a problem if she has an imagination thinking that he's real or whatever. We don't really like lean into it. We're not like leaning into it or whatever. But I think she thinks he's kind of, or she's not sure what to think right now. I'm just like, whatever. Let her have an imagination. That's fine. So there's, I don't know if there's a lot of questions about that. What's that?
Yeah.
I'd be dubious if the presents are already there. What's Santa doing?
Right.
Do you put milk and cookies out for yourself, or it's a weird April conversation? But we went down this rabbit hole, and I need to know how easy it is to trick kids with Christmas presents. We didn't get this discussion.
Oh, it's easy to trick kids into anything. They believe anything mom and dad say. So they will. It's easy to trick them. Yeah, right? We still do. Yeah, if my dad called me up and told me something, I'm believing it.
And if you're gonna give me a present, you're gonna distract me enough that I'm not gonna ask any questions either. Is
100%. Did anybody get under their pillow for the tooth fairy stuff besides money? Because I got stuff besides money.
Just money.
For example, do you remember Pogs?
Yes.
In the
slammers,
90s?
holographic slammers.
Did you have those Pogs, Dangil? It was like these little like cardboard circles that had like shiny pictures on them, and you like would slam them with like a heavier circle.
Yes, they would come in like the bag of chips or whatever for us, and they would like be collectibles, and they would be like different, the new anime series or the new whatever, and then you would collect them.
Yeah, I would get like Pogs under my pillow. Like my parents were sometimes it was money, but sometimes it was something even cooler.
Always money.
No, I
for
think
me.
I would get ice cream because everything was very like, all right, you're it's falling off or whatever. Like, let me help you, and they will be like a little thread or whatever, and they will pull it, and then they will give me ice cream, and then we're good to go.
Let's freeze the pain away now.
Yeah, and then we're good to go. I didn't have any. No, I don't think the fairy was present.
They did not have the tooth fairy. That's the weirdest one. The Easter Bunny is weird.
We knew about it, I guess. Maybe it was just my mom being pragmatic there. It was like, you know what? It's falling off. You're gonna hurt yourself or something. Just let me take it off. And that was it.
It's probably like a trick for kids. Like, losing a tooth can be dramatic, so make it something fun and exciting instead. Like, you get ice cream or money, so you're not like terrified that part of your face just fell off. Makes sense. The tooth fairy has pretty good application. I like it.
There are some pictures since we're going at it. There's some pictures. So my mom remarried when I was 7, and I don't know how you call the people who, like, usually kids, right? That come with the ring bearer. Is that
the ring bearer.
Yes. Yep.
So I was my mom's ring bearer, and right. I was 6 I was 7, I think. I don't think too much about it, but a couple of years ago, we were checking some of the photos from that day. 2 of my front teeth were missing.
No.
And I am smiling like crazy on every picture too, right? And,
kids don't
I'm looking
care.
like and I'm looking so sharp, right? I have my suit and everything. It's beautiful, but then I'm toothless, yeah.
Toothless.
Kids don't care. They don't care.
I don't even remember. I didn't even remember that. Yeah, we don't care.
Did anybody here have the 2 front teeth gone, like at the same time? Anybody here?
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, those were I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, those were you were talking about?
The ones in the story.
Yeah.
Mine lost at separate times. I didn't lose them at the same time.
Oh, mine were totally goofy at the same time. Just absolutely awful.
Big window.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is great video game podcast, right?
Yeah,
a lot of video game chatter.
We love video games. We love video games.
Take it away, Punch.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Dangil, it's awesome to have you on here. Super excited. Why don't we dive in a little bit? Do you want to tell us about obviously you stream on Twitch, so you're a fan of video games. You want to tell us like where you kind of started maybe with some video game, how far back you went playing video games, your first system, stuff like that?
Ooh, yeah. Of course. Yeah, I might like video games slightly, even though the gaming part in my stream has been questioned in the past. But I no like no joke. I love video games. I grew up with them. It's one of the first memories I have is me playing games. So the first system I got was an Atari 2600.
Ooh,
sweet.
And yeah, so that was my dad got it as part of a payment. He's a lawyer, and somebody just paid with stuff or whatever, and part of it was an Atari 2600. So I brought it home. He plugged it in. I was 2.5 years when I played for the first time. I was playing Asteroids.
ooh.
That was my first video game. So,
Asteroids is fun. It's a good game. I have it with the. It's weird because it's all button controls. Not the Atari one, the actual Asteroid arcade thing, and it's addicting. But when you set a score too high, it's frustrating because you have to play for like an hour just to get close. It's a tough game. Fun one.
Yeah, and the Atari 2600 ports are notoriously bad. Like most of them are terrible, but it's what we had, and so yeah, ever since it's been playing games for almost 40 years at this point. Yeah,
Lifelong gamer.
Do you have a favorite Atari game? Like Stampede, legit incredible game on Atari. There's like a few bangers. Most of them are terrible. Like don't hold up. But if you plugged in Stampede, where you're like this little cowboy and there's steer coming towards the screen, you got to lasso all of them. If anyone gets past, you lose a life. We played in like 3 nights in a row of this game, and we got hooked on it.
There are a couple. I don't remember the name, but maybe you guys remember if you know some 2600 games. I think it's River something, and it's you control a plane, like an airplane, and player one, I think it's I don't remember the colors, might be blue and black or something like that. And I think it's River something.
River
Raid? Is it River Raid?
I think it's River Raid. Yeah, there you go. River Raid was so good. Like I played that game so much. And then it was Enduro as well, which is a car game, like a racing game. And to me, it was mind blowing because in Enduro, if you play long enough, right, it's not just about the score, but if you play for long enough and don't die in game, you change seasons. And that was mind blowing to me. Like I couldn't believe, like, oh, you made it to the snow part of the game. It's like, what is this? For how long? How are you so good at games, right? It's like, because you had to play for like 3 hours just to get to winter. So
I just pulled it up. The graphics on Enduro are great for the Atari. They have like a
they're
skyline.
So good, aren't they? Yeah.
They have like mountains in the background. I gotta see. I've never heard of that or the other one, but I gotta check both of them out. And both Activision. Activision was incredible.
I mean,
back
Pitfall,
in the day.
right?
Like one of the few
Pitfall.
like seals of quality they had. Like you saw Activision on Atari, like this was going to be at least decent.
Because the thing was also they were not making ports; they were making games for the system as well. So that was the difference. Like most of these developers were just like porting stuff, and poorly, because they were not even like nobody was really I'm a video game developer or video game designer or like, that was not a thing. It's like, hey, my friend who is good at math is now joining the team. It's like, all right, go with it, I guess.
So where did you go from there? Like what do you remember, like as a kid, like teen, like what games you like stuck out to you, like that you remember playing?
Well, after that, I got on NES, and I mean, I don't know. I went the Nintendo side of history instead of the Sega one. I was never a Sega kid because there is one thing that has happened twice in history. One happened with Sega, and the other time happened with Xbox. And is how big these two things were, these two companies and consoles were in the US, not necessarily in the rest of the world.
Oh, okay.
So that's a good point.
So yeah, like Xbox was so huge in the US, right? It was like a direct competitor to Sony or to Nintendo or whatever. Like in the rest of the world, like people didn't have to think about Xbox too much. It was like, you either get a PlayStation or you get a Nintendo console. That was it. It wasn't part of the equation at all. And the same thing was kind of with Sega. For the most part, most people would be on the Nintendo side of things, like outside of the US. It was important and relevant in Europe and in some Latin American countries, but for the most part, it really wasn't. So yeah, for me it was Nintendo, and then it was like Super Nintendo, which is my favorite console and of all time, and then it was Sony. It was pretty much PlayStation all the way after, ever since.
Any Mario?
The first Mario I played was Super Mario 1, SMB 1. Because my NES was in a gigantic box, right? That included a pad that like those Dance Dance Revolution pads, but it was made for like sport games. I think the name of and it was a cartridge that
the power pad.
The console came with a cartridge that was 3 games in one. It was SMB 1, Duck Hunt, and World Track something. That's the name of that game that used the pad.
I don't think I've ever actually heard of the power pad. I'm looking it up right now. This thing's wild.
Did you cheat?
Yeah.
Did you get down on your hands and knees and
of
bang
course.
the button? Of course, you fly.
Cheetah was the last guy.
So
Cheetah was the fastest, right? Because it's a competition. You think about it like the Olympics or something, right? So you have like hurdles, and you have like long jump and triple jump and all this stuff. And the pad was so enormous, like, because it had space for 2 people standing on it.
Oh, wow.
And then 3 more people on each side behind you. It was like 6 people or 8 people at the same time that could play that thing. It was
genuinely
insane.
fun too. It was awesome. It was a blast. If you didn't cheat, it was legit a good time. But it always, no matter what, there's like one certainty in life. If you had that as a kid, by the end of it, you're cheating. You're getting down and you're banging that.
I learned a technique that
absolutely
involved the heels to do it very fast, and you're kind of like phasing, vibrating. Like I almost end up in a different dimension once, so I kind of had to tune it down. But yeah, like it's pretty fun. So that was my first one, right? That was the first Mario.
Yeah.
And then it was Mario 3. When Mario 3 came out, I was only dreaming about having Mario 3. Games were so expensive. So I was like, I want,
especially as a kid.
No, of course. Like I was when Mario 3 came out, I was, I don't know, 6 years old or something. I was like, what are you gonna do at 6 years? And I was asking for it for Christmas. And my dear mom, who was one of my best friends, and I love her so much, she got me Super Mario Brothers 2.
Oh no.
Wait.
She bought the wrong one. Right now.
Yeah, she got SMB 2, and I didn't understand why it was so different and not that great. But I learned to love it, and I finished it. And then I realized, spoilers for Super Mario Brothers 2. So please cover your ears if you're worried about spoilers of a 40-year-old game. It's all a dream. And I was so disappointed and mad.
Oh, that song at the end. It's so good.
But I was mad. I was really disappointed. I couldn't believe that Mario was all a dream. I felt like my entire quest was a lie.
It's all a lie.
So I felt cheated. The cool thing was that my mom got me Super Mario Brothers 3 pretty much right away, because a colleague of hers, I think he had it for his kids, but they didn't want it. And so I got it pretty much right away. But yeah.
How do you feel about 3 being a play that's just retelling the first one? Curtains rise at the beginning. It's all set pieces. 3's not real either.
No, it's not. But that's amazing. Like if you're telling me from the beginning, okay, this is acted, I'm in, right?
Right.
It's like watching a movie, a good movie.
The whole game.
But if you're telling me like this is real, and then it's like, sorry, you have to wake up, it's time for school, then I will be mad.
Does it do the end question mark too? Like I just picture you flipping your Nintendo, like immediately plugging in this
beautiful.
Blast
this beautiful
processing.
Handwriting just tells you fin, and then it's like something like that. I don't know.
It's really funny. We had another guest on here, Chess, who had the same story, that his parents bought him 2 instead of 3 by accident, and he was like devastated. I'm still on the fact that you had a Mario 1. I have the Mario 1. My first game I ever got in my life was Mario 1 with Duck Hunt on Nintendo. It was the first game I ever owned in my entire life. But that's really, I cannot believe that. I didn't even know they had 3-in-1 games on the Nintendo. I have never heard of that before. That's super cool.
I got Back to the Future as a kid, so no sympathy from me. That game is not good. It's bad. But my parents didn't know, and you can't be mad. You get what you get, and like, I know we said games are expensive to kids. They were $60 back then, which is
very
like
expensive.
1980s, early 90s. That's a ton of money compared to now. Like,
but
we
also
are blessed as gamers.
Unified pricing for these things, it's relatively new. Like, I mean, in the 90s and early 90s, that was not, it was depending on the developer and whatever, the publisher. And those things could be as cheap as $40 and as expensive as 80 or 90. Like, it was up to them. And those $80 of 1993 are like what? Like 200 of today? Like, it's crazy.
Probably.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you think about it, video games have never been cheaper with what they are right now.
Yeah.
They're cheaper and there's so much more to them, right? And I know companies
70.
Yeah, which I mean, I understand there's a lot of companies that, you know, they make up some of that cost with like downloadable content, map packs. I don't think map packs are a thing anymore. That used to be a thing back in like the 360 era and stuff. Call of Duty map packs and stuff, but like they had other ways to kind of make up for it. But again, I mean, the DLCs, I mean, you're investing a lot of human effort into creating those DLCs. So it's like, I don't know what you're really gaining back in the end, I guess. But games have never been cheaper. Even if they push them to 70, they're still cheap when you consider the packages you get these days.
Yeah.
I think it's a good conversation to have too, because like it's very easy to get fired up and say, like, I don't want to spend $60 in this new game, right? I only buy my games cheaper and I wait 5 years for them to be completely like on sale and get them for $5. And that's valid and that's okay. With all the options that we have, you can do that and it's easy to do. But the truth is, there is so much that we're also getting from this games right now that also we have a powerful voice and we can also exercise some pressure and make things change. Like, if you think about it, because people say constantly, oh, my games in the 90s, they were already, you know, they were fully complete and it was, I didn't need any DLC. This is what they say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you say, yeah, but maybe some of them needed some patches. Maybe some of them needed a DLC, and, you know? And that's what we get today. Like, you get people being angry at the developer, and that also helps sometimes for them to change stuff, add things, make it better. So I don't know. It's a good place to be in time, I mean, for games.
Yeah.
And there's also
spoiled.
like
retro's easy.
Yeah, there's also games you go back there's 1.1 versions of old ROMs and stuff like that. Like, they did release updated versions. You just had to rebuy the game to get it back in the day if you wanted.
Right.
And they didn't like announce it was like a new version or anything. To my knowledge, they just kind of went on shelves, and some people had the 1.1, some people had the 1.0, some people had something that was slightly fixed, some people just didn't. It was, I mean, you never knew what you were gonna get.
We're talking about the 25 different versions of Street Fighter 2.
Those are a ton. But there's also Green Blood Ganon out of nowhere in Ocarina of Time. He's
I forgot about that.
Green Blood.
You're right.
One of the first. I think that's the first time I'm like, something's different here. I had the gray cart with the red blood, so I had a weird one.
Me too.
Which is cool. Yeah.
Yep.
Couldn't afford to pre-order it.
I had I had the golden cart Ocarina of Time. Now that I think about it. At least that's the one that, at least that's the one my brother bought. I don't know. He was 10 years older than me. He got it, I think, at release or something. So I don't know. It was just a cool golden cart.
Not to jump the conversation back, but Dangil, you missed out on, like, I know Sega wasn't big where you lived. The advertising campaign in America was wild. Basically, they came on your TV, you're watching Nickelodeon, you're watching like Ren and Stimpy or whatever, and they're like, if you play Nintendo, you are a baby. Only real men play Sega Genesis.
Yeah,
and we blast, and then they show like clips of games and shake it. They challenged our masculinity as kids. So we all on the playground were like, we're Sega kids. Sonic's awesome. I mean, I'm never playing Nintendo again. Crybaby thing. It's wild how they manipulate us. It should be very illegal what they did. They went on TV and basically said, you were a baby if you played Nintendo on children's television, which can't, like, Poncho already said in this episode, tricking kids is incredibly easy. There needs to be regulations on this. And
but
Sega's like, nope.
Like, there are stories of people not having a Sega console because their parents thought it was too edgy. Like, it was way too, you know? And it's like, no, their parents they saw because parents also saw these commercials and whatnot. We're like, no, I don't think I want my kid being one of those Sega kids. My kid is a Nintendo kid.
It had a little controversy to it, though. It was a little sassy of a system if you think about it.
Yeah,
and that was the thing. It was like, if you want the blood in Mortal Kombat, you got to get the Sega version, right? And the Nintendo was censored.
I've said many times, like, I was the cool kid on the block because I had a Nintendo and a Sega. I never had a Super Nintendo, and we certainly weren't a rich household, but like I did have an NES, which I still have in my Sega. So everyone wanted to come to my house to Mortal Kombat. And I'm telling you right now, my parents did not know what Mortal Kombat was when they bought it for me, or I would not have had it. But the rule was I had to turn off the blood. So everyone wanted to come over to my house, sleep over my house, and then you'd wait for mom to go to sleep and be like, "Oh, we're gonna turn the blood on." It was like the coolest thing ever.
So I remember when my mom heard Shao Kahn say "you suck." That was a big deal back in the 90s. And then my friend's dad saw us playing the game and saw the blood and took the cartridge and was mad. He was like the scary friend dad, which is fun to see because I saw him like a year ago, like the nicest dude ever. But the scary friend dad, when he saw Mortal Kombat and like ruined that sleepover, like, what do we do now? He took our game.
Right. Yep. It's ruined.
I had the scary friend dad. Oh my god, Dangil, I have to ask you, like, so you're young, you're playing video games, you have all these cool systems. How, like, as you got older, 20s, like 30s and stuff like that, like, how did your like gaming life look like? Have you always played games? Have you had a gap? Like, how did it lead you like to even be on Twitch?
So I always I was always playing something. There was always at least one of the older consoles with me, and I couldn't always afford the newest console, so it was sometimes I would just have to pass on a generation and say, like, you know what, I can't, like, life is in the way, so I can't. But I will try to play something. Then in 2004 or 5, I want to say, 2004, this was vanilla before the first expansion. I started playing World of Warcraft.
Oh.
Okay.
And this was not good.
It's not. It's not.
Because I played that game for 11 years or so. And I got to a point when I was playing semi-professional. I was getting paid for playing. I was the best. At some point, I was the best rogue in Latin America, PvE.
Wow.
And it was crazy. I was just playing this game, but it was a big commitment. So, raiding times, that is essentially a job. So you have to be super serious and be there on time and every day and for all the tries. And it doesn't matter if we're going to die for like 2 hours, this boss, we're going to do it. Like, it doesn't, there's no other way. It became too much. And I quit. And during those years, I would play some other stuff, but for the most part, WoW will take over. It would always be the commitment, and the thing would always be first. So I didn't play as much as I would have, played otherwise. So I kind of was after that, after I stopped, it was like going back in and catching up with all those games that I missed on.
Right.
Which is mostly like towards the end of the PlayStation 2 era and the PlayStation 3 era for me. And then it was catching up with that a little bit. And then, like I started watching Twitch in 2012. And I only, like, it was always just watching. It was mostly because of the game, not particularly because of any streamer or anything like that. It was just like the game I would be checking out. And I was too shy to speak in any chat. I was way too shy. So I wouldn't even say hi, nothing. I would just watch the thing and be in my own business, whatever. In 2019 is when I like say hello to a chat for the first time, and I start to interact a little bit more. And yeah, so that's more or less how like I started to get more involved in Twitch, and I started streaming in 2021 though. But yeah, that's more or less the story on how it went.
Was it Warcraft you were watching on Twitch?
I was watching some World of Warcraft at first, but then it was mostly just I'm a huge fan of Souls games. So I was just watching some Souls games, speed runs and things like that, because I am a speedrunner, or was a speedrunner. I don't know if I should call myself a speedrunner still. I haven't done it in over a year.
Forever a speedrunner.
But I was a speedrunner and hitless runner too. So I'll be just watching these things and seeing the new, routes and tech and what are people doing and all the strats and whatnot. So yeah, it was always just that.
So you you watched, so 2012, was it Justin TV or was it Twitch at that time?
It was a little before the change to Twitch. Yeah.
Okay.
When I saw the site for the first time, created the account, I think it was already Twitch. But yeah, around that time.
Okay. And then you lurked for like 7 years before you started talking to people.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's awesome.
Was it more intense, like more serious back then? Because I found it I always watch like YouTube videos of long plays and stuff. And it took GDQ video just randomly in my algorithm and be like, wait, this is a thing we can watch live like all the time. And it was always super chill. But I imagine back then, was it like more hardcore? Or I guess it probably had a variety.
No, yeah, like it was, gaming was always there and it was supposed to be the focus. It was just the gaming part. So communities were not as big as they are right now. And you wouldn't see like, it would be very rare if you see a streamer with like thousands and thousands of viewers. That was not really the case. And it was terrible for the streamers as well. Like they needed, like cutting edge technology and computers just to maybe stream something because it was taxing. It was really heavy on a PC. You needed a dual setup thing and because the technology was not really there as we have it right now. So Twitch wasn't that viewer friendly either. It was a weird time. It was clunky. It was not pretty. But yeah, I would say that it was more focused on games than it is now on communities and like spending time or like. I think it was more like on the game than anything else. It was still full of memes and whatnot, but yeah.
Sure.
What was your first stream? Like, what did you do? What did you play?
On my first stream.
Yeah.
Like the first time I went live.
Yeah.
So there's a story to that. I was not planning on becoming a streamer at all. I had no intention of doing so. I was finishing my master's degree thesis, and I was writing a how do you call this? A research proposal for my PhD back then.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I'm busy enough, right? But then at the time, I was completely alone here in Belgium. So I only had one friend, and I couldn't see this friend because of the lockdown. So it was pretty lonely times. And then my friend, she said she's one of my moderators right now in the channel. And she said, hey, why don't you just like stream for one day, maybe? Like, I haven't seen anything about Hollow Knight. And I love Hollow Knight. And I loved Hollow Knight since release. Like, I played it on release and I loved it. And I love that game. So I was like, okay, I can do that. I guess I can play it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went live. That was in May 2020. And I went live and I played Hollow Knight for like 3 streams, 1 hour long each. And to me, that was a lot. I was like, my God, you stream for an hour. Holy, right?
That's long.
And and that was it. It was like, never again. I'm not going to do this because I had a potato laptop. I had these things that I'm wearing right now, which is like AirPods, right? Wired ones, by the way, because I'm an old man and I don't like wireless stuff. So this thing, that was my microphone, and my computer was an old potato thing, right? My camera was like 160p or something. I don't know. I went live and I did this, and my friend enjoyed it, and that was it. End of the story. But then, the rest of the year came. I got the position. I was doing my PhD, the whole thing, and I had more time and more. I was financially more stable too, and it was like time. Maybe I could do it more regularly. So my friend again was like, "Do you want to stream something?" I was like, "Yeah." But I was now familiar with some people in some part of the Souls community. So I knew some people there, and some of them lovely people. We said, hey, why don't we just start streaming for each other to make our days go faster? So when I'm working, you guys are streaming, I'm watching, and when I'm, the other way around too. But we can kind of keep each other entertained, and we just have like a nice little thing. And that's the beginning of my stream. That was in
Wow.
March 2021. And I became affiliate 2 weeks after. And that's been the whole story. So the first game I ever streamed, Hollow Knight, yeah.
Incredible. And look at your emotes now.
Yeah.
And they're primarily based around that.
So jealous of 2 weeks. My first 90 streams was me, my alt account that I created that I only now learned that like, it tracks where it's coming from, and I had my wife watch, and then my one who recently betrayed me. And so like for months it's me talking to myself and my alt account. Like I'd go in and be like, "Hi streamer." I still had fun doing it, but 2 weeks is insane, man. You're awesome.
People don't realize how lucky some other people are, or how lucky they can be when they reach affiliate within a week or two or a month. Like that is still great numbers. The vast majority of streamers out there are streaming to nobody or one viewer, and it takes months and it takes years to some of them. And so when someone has their first stream, it's my first stream, and they have 40, 60 viewers because they're part of bigger communities, and they have this support that is overwhelming, but it's also not the norm. That is definitely something very rare. And they're
agree. You know?
I would get so mad at the 0. Like, I know I'm watching my wife watch. Give me the 1. Just give me
at least one.
I'm here. I'm watching this, and I'm like, no one's going into the 0 stream. Like, that's just rude.
You don't count.
Twitch. Yeah,
yeah.
It's the rudest thing Twitch does, is making it so you could stream to 0 people. Just give me the pity 1.
Just put at least one on there, please.
But you know what? Like I think, I'm with you on this one. I think the pity 1 is a boost of confidence. I think it would help. It's definitely true. Like, this is hard. Streaming is not easy, and it's mentally very taxing sometimes. It is very easy to get lost in numbers, or to get lost in your goals, and thinking like, okay, where am I going now? What's happening? Is it me? Taking things personally is something that happens pretty much daily, and
I hear
rough. It's very rough.
I had to turn off numbers, because when it went from 1 back to 0, I'd be like, what did I do? It's like, maybe they just stopped watching. Maybe they went to dinner. That's nothing you did, but it is hard. And like, it is I think there's a lot of insecurities out there, but I think having a group of friends like Ashley and Paunch, and like those people you're close with, that you can be like, man, like I felt it today, and they can kind of just pat you on the back, like, no, you killed it. Like, that was a great stream. Like, you never know, the ins and outs, the highs and lows. Like, so having those people to tell you, like, don't get too high, because the next stream, you're not going to get 1 million gift subs. And then maybe you have the best stream ever and your numbers are down. You have to remember and remind yourself, like, just keep doing the best stream ever, because the highs and lows you can't predict or control, because real life happens. And I think that's the hardest part of Twitch, is getting bogged down, as you said, in the numbers. And then you focus on that. You can have a crap stream and have outrageously good numbers, and that's not going to help you. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no. From someone who streams a lot, like I do. I stream a lot. I stream 7 to 8 hours a day, and 6 days a week. It's a whole bunch, and the physical part is nothing compared to the mental part. Like, the mental part is the hardest one. Like, coming to terms with things like, it's not you, it's life that happens, is very difficult. Even if you try to put yourself in the shoes of a viewer, and if you're like, okay, how am I as a viewer? Am I engaged for 8 hours with somebody else's stream? Am I talking in a chat for 8 hours? Like, nobody is, because you're doing stuff at the same time, right? So you understand that that's not what is happening, but you don't feel that way.
Sure.
And it's rough. When you have I also turn numbers off. Like, I had to do it like a year ago, because it was becoming extremely difficult for me. And I said, either I do this or I will not be streaming anymore. Like, I'll quit, because this is affecting me deeply. And I'm not offering the best thing that I can offer, and the best of myself, because of these things, right? If I'm looking at numbers, then I'm getting sad that this is happening. So I'm not giving it my all. And part of my philosophy on this thing of streaming was, I'm always, in my head, I'm streaming to 1,000 viewers.
Right.
I don't know how many are there. I'm streaming to 1,000. and I'm giving everything that I have in terms of resources, time, my heart, and my passion about these things. I'm giving it all. If this is enough, then this is enough. If it isn't, it isn't. There's so little control after that you have. That's how much you can do.
There's so much luck involved too. Like you never know. Like I think if any of us, because I've watched all of our streams, like if any of us had that platform, you see streamers with like 10,000 viewers, you go in, you're like, oh, Ashley's so much better and more engaging and more fun to watch than this guy. But it's just getting that, that opportunity to be put in front of those people. And that's why like your approach is incredible. Like always pretend you're streaming to 1,000 people and put on the best possible show, because if you do happen to get that exposure, like it was so much fun watching another friend streamer of mine get front page. He had consistently 14,000 and he would average like 70 before that. But then 14,000 people are watching him, sticking around just because he was on front page. And it's so cool to know, like, okay, that guy can do it. And like, it's fun to see. And you never know when you're going to get that moment, that huge raid that it's going to change you. And just as long as you're having fun, people will stick around,
We were having this conversation, I think, earlier today. I was streaming earlier today. We were talking about this a little bit when I was saying, would you consider that a streamer with 50,000 viewers is 50,000 times better than a streamer with 50? If you look at them like, or your favorite smaller streamer and your favorite big streamer, do you think that there is a correlation between the numbers directly? Like, is because the bigger streamer is thousands of times better? And that is not the way it works. A lot of that is a lot of luck, a lot of like patience, and a lot of different factors. That is not just that doesn't translate 1-to-1, unfortunately. And because then we would have a formula, it would be easy, but there isn't.
It makes you want to pull out your hair sometimes, because you're like, everything you're taught, like hard work pays off, and you could sit there and throw hard work into your Twitch stream and work as hard as you want and get bupkis in return. I don't know, is that a good word? I think that's
a great word. It's a great word. It's a great word.
Great word.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just tell yourself it's a great word.
Sit there and do nothing, and then just as long as you're having fun, put zero into it, and then just have a killer stream. So it's a weird dynamic. Like, how hard do I need to work at this to make it the best? And it's frustrating when you put in work and it doesn't show in the numbers. It's a dangerous mind game that you just got to like. There's different ways to work hard at this, and it's fun.
It happens, but like not to for us to focus on like the negative parts of it, because it's not just that. The positives are amazing, and the great things that you can get from streaming are so good. I mentioned that at the time I had one friend. I was pretty lonely at the time, and the fact that right now I have this community that gather around my streams, for instance, and these people that I do care about deeply and care about me as well, and we have real conversations, and we like we talk with each other every day. That means so much, and it's one of the positive things, right? Another thing is like how it changed my life to do something that I am proud of be doing, but also happy for the first time. I've worked on many things in life. And this is the first time in my life where work to me is not a thing that I keep away from my life. This is, I'm happy to be doing this. This makes me genuinely happy. And I end up working much more than I have ever worked in the past. It's insane. Like, I work so hard and for so long, but I don't feel like it. I just love it. This is what I love doing. And it feels great. And part of like, talking to, going back to this conversation we were having about like the numbers and all these things, is why one of the things in that I like doing is giving that little back to people in the community as well, giving back as much as I can. And that's, like rating someone more consistently who keeps numbers, like who have like, I don't know, less people watching than I have. And try to boost them up and like hype them up and share that love of the community with somebody else as well. I think it's so important. And I think it's one of the few things that we can do as streamers now on Twitch. It's just rate someone, just share the love with somebody else, and give that person a nice gift and make their day, right? Or their night. Because they were not expecting, if they have like 3-4 viewers and I don't know, if you rate them with 50, 60 viewers, that's going to be something for them to be happy about and a night to remember. And it's, it's going to be like one of these things that I think Twitch still allows us to do, connect with other communities and then become like stronger in that sense. I just want to say that I want hosts back. So thank you very much. Thank you for going for my TED Talk. I want hosts back. That's pretty much it.
One second here. One thing I want while we're on this is I always think this actually kind of resonated a bit with me. Is I think it was 2 episodes ago we had a plain old Trey on here, and one thing that he said was, when you go live, you want to focus on the people who are there, make it the best stream they've ever seen, right?
Yeah.
Like oh man, they're here, they're seeing the best stream, can't believe it. And you know what? What's going to trickle from that? People who, life got in the way, they couldn't hang out. They're going to start feeling a little bit of FOMO, a little fear of missing out. They're like, oh man, I missed that. Let me try to tune in next time for sure. Because there's just, as people talk in Discord or about previous streams and stuff, it's going to get out, it's a cool stream here. People are gonna be like, why does this guy have, 42 viewers right now? What's he doing in his stream? That's like, I want to go hang out. Let me see what is this guy doing that's so cool right now that 42 people are dedicating, a couple hours of their day to come check out. So it's like, stream for the people who are there. Don't think about the people who couldn't make it because they have they have life, they have kids, they have jobs. Stream for the people who are there. Make it the best stream they've ever seen every time.
There's also a thing to that where numbers are very deceiving, and we have seen so many big streamers, people with or events, even like hundreds of thousands of viewers or thousands of viewers, and so that is what we consider a big streamer. And then if you have less than 100, you're a small streamer, and that's not the case. Like if you take a look at the number of streamers per month on Twitch, which is close to the 7 million streams that happen on Twitch per month. If you're averaging anything over 20 viewers, you're already like 0.4%.
Yep.
It's that insane.
Yeah.
So exactly, someone with 50, with 60, with 40, with whatever, like around that range of viewership, it's gotta have something interesting going on, and it's already not a small streamer. Like, it's really hard if you know how it starts. I think in this case that Pops knows very well, right? Like when you start with 0 streaming to your cell phone persona, you know how hard it is to go from 1, then to 2, then to 3, and that every single person is so important. They count so much. And to have 40 and to have 50 is like, oh man, but I wish I had 100. It's like, it's not items, it's not collectibles. Like, it's people that are there watching.
People. Yep.
Yeah.
Collectibles. Changed my mind. No, I'm just kidding.
All the collectibles.
Oh my goodness. I've never heard that before, and I'm going to steal that.
Great.
The collectibles are being wild today in chat.
Yeah, we have great numbers. Collectibles are going off the roof. It's amazing.
I love that. Yeah, I will never forget those months of 0 because like I'm still having fun, and like I think that's a huge deal too. If you want to go after streaming, like you gotta love it because it is hard, and like I love every second. Like every time I see one person in chat, because those months where you're just playing I was just playing by myself for months. As soon as one person comes in, I'm like, yes, you are going to watch me play X-Men 2 Clone Wars, and you're going to like it, and I'm going to have a conversation. It's going to be great. And like, I love it. And I remember when I finally got to affiliate, it was like my first day playing Mario Maker 2. And that's what did it. Like, I went from streaming all of the Jurassic Park games by myself, I did Terminator and Sega CD, I did retro because I love retro. I'm a huge retro nerd. And like, it's just me by myself having fun. But then I played Mario Maker 2 one day and there was 5 people hanging out. And I have goosebumps thinking about it. Like, being able to talk to people while playing video games has saved my marriage, because I run my mouth nonstop, as you can already tell. And my wife is just so happy that I have an outlet for all of the stupid things that I say. And like after the stream, I'm a normal adult again. I'm like, hey, how are you doing? How was your day at work? Instead of just running my mouth about nonsense. So like, I think if you stream just for like numbers and have people like you, you're going to have a miserable time. It's going to be just heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
I am convinced that very few things that we can do right now online as a job like this, it could be as transparent as streaming, like live streaming.
Yeah.
I think you need to be genuine. Like, these things come across very easily to the viewer. If you're having a difficult day, if you are in a bad mood, if you're genuinely sad or depressed or so, and it shows, and your viewers will notice, and it will, the whole vibe will get to them very easily too.
Yeah.
And there's nothing funnier than see these kind of rage moments when people are like mad at the game or whatever, when you know it's kind of like part of the act and it's part of the persona.
Yeah, sure.
When it feels but there's a moment it has happened that you have seen it, that it feels way too real, and then you have to click away. You have to leave.
Yeah,
it's like, this feels way too real. And it's because these things happen, like, it's so transparent. So if you're doing it if you have 2 viewers and all you're thinking about is when you have 20 and the bits and the subs, you're not gonna last. It's not for you. It's not gonna happen. Like,
during my 0 reign, I wanted to be angry video game nerd, and so I was swearing, I was yelling, I was trying. And like, you could probably already tell, I'm a big dork. I'm the biggest nerd that I know. Like, I'm an overgrown child, and like, I just had to embrace it. Like, I know I'm never gonna be cool. And so finally, like, let's add magic tricks to the stream, or like, whatever, let's shoot toy lasers. And like, I got to just be myself. And like, you're right. They can pick up if you're not yourself and you're not genuine. And if I tried to be cool, it would be the worst stream I've ever done. And like, I learned that pretty quickly. Like, I am not angry video game nerd. I can't know what it is, but like, you can pick up on like disingenuous super quick.
Oh yeah.
I think you're pretty cool though.
Aww.
No one has ever called me. That's the nicest thing. I'll take it.
You're the
first
one.
person ever. The biggest dork that I know. And like, I'm 38. Like, I love my 30s, because in the 20s and earlier, like, I wanted so hard to be cool. But by the time I'm 30, I'm like, hey, it is what it is. Just ride it out, baby.
So you want to discuss age? Do you want to talk about age? Okay, we could do that too. Younger brother man, of course. No, I mean, I think you're pretty cool. Have you seen the magic tricks? They're pretty cool.
I gotta ask, where's the brother man from? That cracks me up every time. The brother man.
Idea. So I have no idea. This happened. I think that originally it happened because I was playing Kaizo, and I was, there was a frustrating level or whatever. And I wanted to complain about it. It's like, oh man, or something like that. We're like, oh man, that was so close or something. And then I think for some reason, my wires just kind of crossed. And I wanted to say, brother, what is this? Or, oh man, at the same time. And I ended up saying, brother, man. and then became a thing. And then I was like, why did I say that? Okay, I'm going to keep saying it. But then, of course, like, I'm not going to say it. Like, it became a thing in the channel as well, right? Somehow. And I have to, every time I have to say it, I have to exaggerate the way I say it.
Of course.
So I'm not going to say something like brother man. Like, it's not going to be a brother man. It's going to be a brother man. Like, it's going to be, that's how it's going to be. Like, more passionate. But things like that happen all the time. All the lore that we have in our streams. It's so amazing, isn't it? And that is ours. That's so cool.
So I'm trying to think. So see, you played a lot of Souls on Twitch and stuff over the years, right? Many Souls games. Hollow Knight. I know I found you probably about a year-ish ago, due to like Barb talking about you. I think it's about maybe a year ago you started doing emotes for him to an extent. And I think that's when I found you. I don't remember what you were doing back a year ago in particular, more variety-ish of that nature. And then recently you started getting not full-time, but a huge chunk of your stream is now into SMW Kaizo play now. Starting a couple months ago, right?
Yeah. The whole Kaizo thing started happening only in September. And yeah, it was mostly because it's okay. A year before that, we had a channel point challenge. You know, these things that Twitch has, then people can, put their channel points towards a goal, towards a challenge or whatever.
Yep.
Sure.
And since I was, I lurk so much in the Kaizo community, and some of my friends who stream Kaizo, I was like, yeah, why not? You know what? If you guys hit the 200,000 channel points or whatever, I'll play one Kaizo game, and that's it for one stream. That's all, right? And they did it, of course. And I played a game, and I played Quickie World 1.
Oh, my favorite.
One stream only, and I made it to the end on that stream. Never played Kaizo before.
What?
And I never played it again. Great. That was it.
Oh my goodness, how?
I don't know, but people kept saying, you're pretty good at this. And I don't know. All right, moving on. I kept doing my thing. And then last year in September, was when I said, Beautiful Dentures, which is an expert hack, released. And that is made by a friend. And I didn't know, but I am in the credits of that game. And I had no idea.
Aww.
And I also didn't know why.
I don't know why I'm here.
So I asked, right? And I saw it, and it was super hyped. And I went and asked him, and I said, "Hey, why am I in the credits?" He said, "Well, a couple of years ago, you did some art for the Kaizo community, and I remember that they commissioned me. It was like 2 years ago. They were all playing Kaizo Hack Grandpa World 2, and they were all fighting Bowser at the time, which is a very tough boss fight at the end of that hack. And they hired me to do some art reminiscent of Street Fighter 2, but in a character selection screen.
Yeah,
when they're fighting Bowser, and it's like the whole thing is each one of them as a Street Fighter character, right? So I made that, and I made like a little animation where you select your character, whatnot. They loved it. That was just a commission. He used those pictures in his hack as well for some of the frames for the other Kaizo players. And that's why he included me in the credits.
That's awesome.
But then I said, you know what? I will earn those credits. And that's why I started playing Kaizo. I was like, I'm going to get so good that one day I'm going to play this expert hack and I'm going to beat it. And I'm going to earn that. And there's also another hack that I want to play at some point that's called Rift 2, that it would look beautiful to me.
Yep.
And it's like the big mountain to climb at some point. But I played Beautiful Dentures finally a month ago, and I beat it. And I saw myself in credits. And that's it. So I now keep playing it because I can't stop. I love it. Right? Help me. Send someone to help me. I just like this Kaizo thing.
Ratio made that hack, I think.
Beautiful Dentures, yeah. It's made by I Am the Ratio.
Yep.
Super cool. So same thing happened to me in a weird way. Chicanery is my dream hack. I'm not where you are quite yet, where like you're at the expert level. But when Bufflin made Chicanery, Bufflin's my favorite maker. He and I had met in the community, and he knew about me playing his levels and stuff like that. And he has. I remember I was watching somebody play Chicanery when it first came out, and the credits came, and all these legends were there, and like Glitch Cat and Barb, and then at the end it said, and Ashley_FL for spending hours playing my levels. And I was like, I've never even played a ROM hack before. What am I doing here with like the legendary people? Like it was like I was the most random name there. And I was like, you know what? I want to play ROM hacks, and I ordered a Super NT just so I could say one day I want to go play Bufflin's hack. And I'm not there yet. I'm really close. I'm training. I'm training right now to play it, but it's pretty cool. Like you never know
the
like,
montage music. Maybe you want to go to a cabin in the snow, play there, record the whole thing. It's gonna be amazing though.
Love Rocky 4. Rocky 4, the entire montage. He does it the right way by working out in the snow in a cabin. He was on so many steroids. Like, as soon as he takes off, there's veins on top of his veins. That's not snow workout muscles. Those are steroids. I love Rocky. Oh, such a good series.
I was just looking it up right now. I had no business getting into this, but I got into Grand Poo World 3 and I'm at 146 hours into it. Overall, I have 3 exits left. I'm on the puzzle right now. But building up to this, I played like one intermediate hack and then some beginners, and then I just jumped right into this. And it's actually been a very enjoyable. It doesn't feel, I mean, sometimes it feels like 146 hours when I play the Tower of Fate for 20 hours and 48 minutes. But overall, it's been kind of fun jumping in way over my head, because I'm very curious to see what it looks like when I come back and do some kind of easier stuff, to see what people say it feels like slow motion going back into like some easier stuff after playing something like that. Everything will be slow motion, but it's been fun jumping way in over my head. I've learned so much tech wise and everything, and I know it's very what they call chocolate. For people who don't know what chocolate is, it's very like out of the norms of vanilla SMW physics, weapon sets, or not weapon sets, but item sets, stuff like that. So there's some very kind of like janky stuff that is, I don't want to say janky, but it's stuff that shouldn't be an SMW, but it is, and it works. And sometimes it is a little janky, of course, but it's been very fun jumping in to something that's, I would consider above expert, if you will, if there was a category in that. And I've learned quite a bit. 100. I don't think I'm going to be sub 200 by the time I finish this. I have 2 Bowser fights ahead of me still. And I'm going for sub 3 though. Sub 300. That's what I'm aiming for 300. At this point. Yes.
Easy.
I think those Bowser fights are going to take me especially the GPW2 remix one is going to take me a while.
Oof. Yeah.
Good luck.
Mario's just the perfect streaming game because it's bite-sized chunks of play, then you die because it's hard, and you talk to chat, and you play, and then you die, and then you win, and you talk to chat. And it's like a level with a world record of 1 minute in Maker, you're like, that's a long level. Holy smoke. Like, it's just bite-sized little chunks of gameplay, and then you can talk to your friends. And like going from retro to that first stream of Mario, I'm like, oh, this is easy. So now anytime I stream something else, I'm like, I don't know how to do it, because there's these long 10-minute sections. So even like a Mario, like I played Mario 3, which are luckily shorter levels. But if I play like a traditional level in Mario Maker, I'm like, this is not as much fun because I'm just running right for 2 minutes and I want to be talking with people. I just saw chat flicker. What if they said something funny? I'm missing it. Like it's more the conversational piece. And Mario is just so perfect for that. Those bite-sized chunks, and then boom, let's talk some more.
Absolutely. So on the topic of video games, one question that Pops, you had brought up over our, we have a group DM that every once in a while we message throughout the month in preparation for episodes and stuff like that. One thing you thought would be kind of a fun thing to talk about was our worst video game purchases. Our worst video game purchases of all time, like that you spent your not that your parents bought for you or something, but that you spent your hard-earned cash, and you're like, I think I'm gonna like this game, and then end up being like garbage, or you just hated it. Maybe it was a good game, you just hated it. I don't know. And I think this is a good topic. I see Pops, for those who aren't watching the live feed, already held up like 15 games in his hands. So
it's 5, but it's a good, because video games, especially back then, that's a huge chunk of money. And I'm a kid. I work at a movie. I have a paper route. Man, I can't believe I saved up and bought a Sega Saturn with my paper route. I love my Sega Saturn, but
you could have bought an SNES.
I should have.
That's what you should have done.
So many regrets. I've already ranted about this game before. Mario Strikers, the new one. It's 4-on-4 soccer, but you can only have 2 people on your team. Like, so if we all wanted to be on team and play Mario Strikers online, we cannot do it unless I physically travel to Ashley's house and you go to Ponch. It's 2 switches per team, which is the most ridiculous thing in a 2023 game or 2020, like whatever came out. And I tried to take it back and Walmart wouldn't take it back. That's outrageous. The game itself is fine, but you can't play it online with friends. I bought this for my wife for her birthday. It was not a good purchase. That was
Sonic and the Secret Rings for those.
Yeah, don't look it up. It's bad.
Okay.
Just didn't like this. Full price, $60 back in the day. Not
Prince
for me.
Persia.
People like
the
this
Sands of Time. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the GameCube one.
Yeah. And same thing with this one, Star Fox Adventures, $60. These are games that I did not finish. And if I bought a game back in the day, even if I wasn't like a huge fan of it, I'm getting my money's worth. And I couldn't get through those games. They were so boring. And then this one,
Sense of Time is good. I mean, I like it.
It didn't fit for me. And like I'm thinking about same with Star Fox. Like people like those games.
Yeah.
It's just maybe at that time I wasn't in the mood. And this is my weirdest one. I don't know what I was thinking.
Can you read it for us?
Tatsunoko Capcom versus Capcom 2, is that?
It's just it's just Tatsunoko. I don't even know what Tatsunoko is. I paid $60 for this. I played it once. And I'm like, why did I buy this? I don't know what I was thinking at that time. It's just it's not Marvel vs. Capcom. I know Marvel and Capcom love both of them. I have no idea what Tatsunoko is, but for some reason,
it's a publisher. I think it's like a manga publisher or like something like that. So yeah,
those are the games.
Get a lot of random characters that you have probably no idea who they are. Yeah,
$60, popped it in, ejected it, put it on the shelf, and never touched it again. And like, I would never do every other game, even if it's terrible. I at least suffered through to get my money's worth. Not those guys. I have a Virtual Boy up there. I played the heck out of my Virtual Boy. Not a good system, but it's not a terrible purchase for me because Wario was great on that. We played Mario Clash where my buddy would look in and I would have the controller and he'd be like, jump now. So much fun. We got our money's worth. Those games just played it once.
Star Fox Adventures, like I enjoyed it, but I get why nobody else did. It's a complete separate way for them to take Star Wars, Star Fox. They kind of went like a Zelda-ish route with it and stuff. Like whereas before it's always an on-rails shooter with more control and stuff, and it was a blast. And it was the first time they tried something different, and it was very mixed results. Very mixed results.
Do you know the story behind that?
No,
like
I don't.
Rare made Dinosaur Planet for Nintendo 64. They were making a game called Dinosaur Planet, and Miyamoto saw it. That's when Rare and Nintendo were buddies. And it's like, hey, that looks like Star Fox. Make it a Star Fox game. And so they literally just took the character and added Star Fox. So it was a completely different game, but because Miyamoto said that looks like Fox McCloud, and so it was late in Nintendo 64's life, and they're like, all right, we're gonna put it on GameCube, and just transitioned over. So it literally was a completely made game, and because it had a fox in it, he's like, make that Star Fox. So that's it. It was basically stamped. Think Doki Doki Panic almost.
Yeah.
Like being Mario 2.
Oh, yeah.
Like not quite because that was released, but just because he felt like it. But like that's the story there. Good game. It's fine. I just could not get into it. And it's been on my shelf since it came out after one play session, and I want my $60 back. But I refuse to. I'm the kid that refused to sell back any of my games.
Me too.
If I buy it, I keep it. Except for Strikers is the only time I tried. Like, you take it out of the packaging. I'm like, yeah, it's terrible. She's like, I can't take this back, sir. I'm like, you're a jerk.
What about anybody else? Anybody else have any horrible, or not horrible, but just regrets? It's just a bad purchase you spent your hard-earned cash. Ashley, I see you raising your hand. Let's go with you.
Honey, I'm still mad at this. Okay, it has been years, and the rage within me burns bright. And here is my gripe with the world. I think it'll surprise you. Breath of the Wild, one of my favorite games of all time. But I'm not talking about any Breath of the Wild. I am talking about the Wii U version of Breath of the Wild. And why am I so angry? Because I had Breath of the Wild pre-ordered for 5 years before the game actually came out. They kept pushing it. And do you know that I purchased the Zelda Edition Wii U just to play Breath of the Wild because I was so excited about it. I was like, oh my God, it's going to be this huge game, open world, Zelda. I've been playing Zelda since Zelda 1. Since I was 3 years old, I've been playing Zelda. And what did they do? They said, oh, by the way, surprise, we're making a whole new console and it's coming out for both. But you should probably get the new console because the other one is obsolete now. And I was so mad at Nintendo for what they did to me that I kept my pre-order. My first playthrough Breath of the Wild was on my Wii U, and I did not buy a Switch for almost 2 years because I was so salty at Nintendo for what they did to me. And I'm still mad to this day.
I gotta say that for a second, I thought that there was gonna be some sort of bait and some sort of shenanigans between my chat and Ashley. When Ashley said Breath of the Wild and brought in Breath of the Wild, because Breath of the Wild was kind of a meme in my stream.
Really?
And they bait me in the conversation of Breath of the Wild because I don't like Breath of the Wild and I have things to say about it. And every time they bring it, like they know that I will talk for hours about that game and the reasons why. And they just enjoy me raging about it for like 45 minutes. But I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry that happened to you.
This is even worse than people say that Skyward Sword's a bad game, because I have a lot of things to say about Skyward Sword, and I always will. Oh my god!
Oh boy, that face on Dangil. He's trying to hold it back. Trying to hold it back.
Okay. So about the games that purchases, bad purchases, right? One that happened very recently, okay? And this happened once. This is my first time ever. The first time ever that I actually how do you call this? Like refund a game on Steam.
Yeah.
So I did that once, and that was a couple of months ago, live on stream. I've never done it before.
Wow.
That's how much I really did not like that game. It's a Pizza Tower.
Really?
Whoa.
Yeah.
And that game is like kind of universally to it. A lot of people like it. A lot of people like it.
I couldn't. I just couldn't. Like I was physically feeling bad about it. Like it's like either this or I end the stream. That's it. Like I don't know. And I went and I refunded the game, and we played something else afterwards. I don't remember. Maybe I don't know. But yeah, Pizza Tower just drove me mad.
It's funny you say that, because one of the worst games that I bought, I also refunded on stream too. It's not the one I was thinking. It's not the one I was thinking of, but I was going to bring this up, but I didn't even consider that I did refund this on stream till you said that. It was in October, and it was a series that's very, very, very popular, especially with like younger kids. And I was like, all right, let me see what this is. So I bought Five Nights at Freddy's. I mean, now, albeit it was $2. It was like $2. Didn't cost much. I played it. I didn't like it from like it, not just because it's scary, jump scare. It's a bad game. It's terrible. Like anytime I go to control it, like half of my monitors blank out because it wants to focus on the thing first off, which is annoying in and of itself when you're trying to PC games sometimes. And it was just bad. Like I went in, I was like, where's the gameplay? This is what kids, this is what they like to watch and play. Like what is this? And you know what? I was like, you know what? I don't like this. I'm going to return it. I'm getting my $2 back on this. This is bad. It was $2.
So bad. You spent more time getting that $2 back than you would just working a normal job. You're that petty and mad. You have crossed the line.
It's not about the money. I'm sorry. I'm with Poncho in this
it's
one.
It's the principle.
I'm dying. Yes. $2 on stream.
I was watching that night when he was playing Five Nights at Freddy's. First of all, Madge, because Badge, you were awful, and you didn't listen to a thing anyone. You were asking.
There was no guidance. It was just like, go do the thing.
You didn't listen. You didn't listen to anything. You were so mad.
You know what was the play, Poncho? Because I'm with you on this one. You refund that game, and you use those $2 to gift sub the developers to your stream. You go and you gift a sub to the developers to your stream. And that's it. Like that,
there you go.
It's not about the money. It's about sending the message.
It's sending a message.
Yeah.
The $2 refund is my favorite. I did not know that. That is warming my belly.
I feel like it's such a dad thing to get refunds on stuff, and I feel like Ponch has done like the refund thing quite a few times since I've known him. He's all about the deal, waiting for the deal, and getting the refund if he doesn't like something. That's dad play right there.
Steam, I haven't done that many refunds. I can maybe count on one hand the Steam refunds I've done. I can't think. I'm trying to think of one of them. I wanted to. It was mostly just to see if it ran on my machine, which I don't know. Call that ethical or not, I don't know. But I ended up refunding it because it didn't. This was back before I upgraded my computer. So I don't usually refund. It takes. I have a lot of garbage games. Like I was like looking through my Steam library because I was like, all right, there's got to be garbage in here. And honestly, yeah, there is, but I don't really necessarily regret any of it. Like whatever, it's a game I played. I mean, everybody's Steam library, they have games that they never played and probably never will play, and probably there's regret with that. But I can't really look at any of these games and be like, I am mad that I even paid for that. Now that's my Steam library, other than Five Nights at Freddy's 1.
There's a little bit of shame of that. Like, I would first show my Twitch key before showing my whole Steam library. That's like I'm ashamed. There are many games that I'll never play. No, I keep that thing and it's there. It's like under the rug. Don't talk about those.
But when I think of a game that I regret spending $70 on, it's Tears of the Kingdom. I kind of knew I wasn't going to like it. I bought into some hype, and I've said a lot about this game on this podcast, on my stream. I do not like Tears of the Kingdom. I do not like it at all. I had a good time with Breath of the Wild. I did. Tears of the Kingdom. There's too many systems going on. Too many systems. It's probably my gaming regret was Tears of the Kingdom. When I think about games, because like most of the games, like I'm a very informed purchaser when I do even when I was young, I was always looking things up, and that's the one that I did buy into the hype, and I did get it, and I should not have, but I did get it.
First of all, I did a 24-hour stream when Tears of the Kingdom came out.
Oh, here we go. Release. Here we go.
Oh, yeah. You thought this wasn't going to come up? You tried. The midnight release. I'm doing a 24-hour stream. I'm tired. I'm excited. And here's Pancho Taco in my chat. I'm farther than you. Get good. I'm way past you right now. And I was like, bro, is he serious right now? I've been waiting for this game for years. I'm so excited. He's going to come in here and badger me. But then
I was further than her.
All night long, I'm farther than you. I did this part an hour ago. Get good. Then the next day, he's like, wait, I have to eat food so that I'm not cold. I'm out of here. I have to collect things. I have to use a sword. The dude literally was. I'm killing him. I'm so much better than you, but he couldn't gather a plant to eat it so that he would stay warm. That was his biggest gripe. And he was like, well, 15 hours, I'm good.
I played it for 15 hours. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of time to dedicate to a game.
That's a lot of time.
That's a lot of time.
Sorry. Like,
Diego, everything you say for the rest of the podcast is just invalid to me from now on. The end. Next time I'm in your stream, you and I are going to have a little chat about Breath of the Wild. The end.
You know what's funny? Like about the whole Zelda thing for a second? Realizing, because I always thought I was a big Zelda fan, because Zelda, I had Zelda 1 and 2, the golden cartridges, and it was my first RPG, whatever. Loved them. Realizing that I wasn't a Zelda fan, and that happened relatively recently when I was like, you know what? I don't think I like Zelda games that much, or that many of them. I guess
it's okay to be wrong. It's okay.
No, I know. And that's what I tell people all the time. Like, it's okay. You can be wrong. There is no problem. I won't judge you, right? But then, I love the 2D ones. A Link to the Past is phenomenal. A Link Between Worlds is great.
Oh, so good.
It absolutely is.
So good.
Those puzzles were so clever and Link Between Worlds. It's like I love Zelda because it makes me feel smart. That one made me feel dumb, and I loved it even more. I'm like, oh, you have to think outside the box, and it's rare because we have played so many Zelda games. Like, you kind of know the answer to every puzzle before you get there. Like, they're out of things to do, basically. But Link Between Worlds was like, oh, it was such a breath of fresh air. I love a good video game puzzle that catches me off guard.
Agree. We will talk. We will talk one day about this Zelda things.
I look forward to it.
I'm of the same. I personally enjoy the top down far more than the 3D. 3D, I do like Ocarina of Time. It's a fun game. That's probably really there's a couple other ones that I like, but I much more prefer the top down. Even the remake of Link's Awakening. That was very enjoyable. I like the style they went for. I know a lot of people didn't maybe necessarily like it. I like the art style they did. I thought it was cute and very fun way to revisit that game and stuff.
The game was incredible on Game Boy. Like,
the Game Boy.
It was so dense. How they pulled that in is nuts.
The only downside, and it's because of a hardware issue, is the limited button and inventory space because of the buttons on the Game Boy, which the Switch version did fix a lot of that, which improved the game. I mean, everybody would say that improved the game. You don't have to hit start constantly and switch your A button with something else because you always have to keep the sword equipped. You can never not have the sword available. And they definitely fixed stuff.
Right now, one of the biggest problems of Zelda as a franchise to this day is still inventory. Nintendo has not figured out a good way of making good inventory systems. Like, to this day, all of them. There's always an issue.
I want my screen controller back. I miss it. Like, I know the Wii U was a disaster.
That was probably great, yeah.
I loved it because there's your map. If you're playing Metroid, there's your inventory. There's no more need to pause. And like, because I played so many DS games and I had the Wii U, I'm like, I love this. We need for games like that, a controller with a screen on it. Like, let's make it happen. It can't be that expensive.
I feel like Nintendo never figured out that part. Recently, speaking of this Zelda thing, I played through Wind Waker for the first time. Never played it before. Always loved the art style. I think it looks lovely. And I played it for the first time. And I ended up liking that game quite a bit. I enjoyed it a lot. I have things to say about many of the systems. Like there's some things that are that aged poorly, that are just hard to, convince someone that they are good nowadays. Inventory is one of those things. But it's a fun game. And, it's, more than I can say about my time with more recent releases in the franchise, I would say. But,
Wind Waker has so much personality, but then they make sure to know, they tell you about the red rupee every time you get it. If you turn off the game and turn it back on, it's like, that's 20 rupees. You feel excited. It's like, no, I don't. Like, I know this. I know exactly what I got. Oh, that's a joy pendant. These will bring you joy down the road. Like, let's just give me the item. I know. Let's go.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of these things that Nintendo just loves doing in their games for some reason that you're like, this was not a good decision. And I don't know how you get a free pass for these things, but you do.
You can kind of tell with Breath of the Wild, they had an idea, right, of using the gamepad, the Wii U's gamepad. Because, like, even throughout the game on the Switch version, like, he's essentially holding a gamepad. That's what they're going for. And you can tell because the Wii U's failure of moving hardware and stuff caused them to pivot their huge Breath of the Wild into this next system that would become the Switch. So it kind of feels like they had some plans, probably, is my guess, is to kind of do that type of like inventory on everything on your gamepad, game up on the TV. And then obviously that it would not be compatible with the Switch today. So I feel like some of that, maybe they were going that direction. And then because of the Wii U's low rate of moving hardware, because people didn't know what a Wii U was, that it was a separate console and stuff, that they just kind of switched their focus. Like, if we're going to launch our big game, it's got to at least go on 2 platforms here, because it released on both at the same day. So
just to go full circle a little bit, I miss and pine for the days of weird video game accessories. Like we talked about the power pad earlier. How cool was that? They had the rock and roller. I miss light gun games. Those were some of my favorite things to play, like House of the Dead with this giant gun on screen.
Love House of the Dead.
They don't make accessories anymore. How cool would it be for like the Switch? Like, because they have the Joy-Cons that slide into a little mini screen thing. Like, that would have sold well. That would have been the coolest thing ever. It's like for games like Metroid and Zelda, anything with an inventory, any RPG, or like you need a map. Like, I'd pay $100 for a little screen.
You might think so, but this has happened. We have had this before. We're not ready to have the conversation, but Sega did this with the Dreamcast. Like all
The
of these
VMU.
problems that we're talking about, the Dreamcast solved them, and we didn't care.
We weren't ready.
No,
we weren't ready for it.
Group, our small town, we all had Dreamcasts, and none of us knew a PlayStation existed.
Skies of Arcadia is one of the best RPGs I've ever played.
Thank you. We are best friends now. Vice. Oh my goodness, I love that. That is the single best RPG. Cutlass Fury, that special move. I remember when the blanket moved, and I was like, the graphics are insane here. Like the one girl waking up when the blanket went. I have goosebumps right now. We can't, Poncho, get a hold of this podcast because I will go down the Skies of Arcadia.
You just made a best friend forever.
No, he's right. It's the best RPG of all time. The story is absolutely incredible. Good. Every character is likable except for Gilder, and I love Gilder because he's not likable. He's so good.
Exactly.
Even the jerk prince. The fact that they took a jerk, rich, spoiled prince and made me like he's one of the greatest redemption stories of all time. We got Punch take control because we're getting out of control here. Getting out of control.
All right, so we've all had regrets in our past of video game purchases. If you guys have them too, let us know in the Arcade Parlor Discord or whatever. We'd love to hear it and talk about that. Let's see. We have a couple things. I think we're going to move into. Do you guys like voicemails, emails, and text message? Do you guys like those things?
On the podcast?
Yeah. Now that I don't work, yes. But back when I had a job, no.
I think maybe we should hear some. We have some listeners who sent in a couple things prior to this recording. And I think we will listen to some of this stuff. We can start off with a voicemail here. Before I get into this, however, for those listening, we do have a phone number that you can reach us at any time, voice or text, 402-915-1082. That is a US phone number. So 402-915-1082. You call it, it's going to go straight to voicemail. Leave us a voicemail. We also accept text messages. And we also have an email address, email@arcadeparlorcast.com. That's email@arcadeparlorcast.com. Send something there and it may be featured on a future episode. We do have one voicemail here that I'm going to play. Let me pull that up here. One voicemail here from a listener here. And here we go.
Hi, friends. This is J Major 7. Do any of y'all have any legendary stories from your childhood? Any great tales of conquest or mischief? Anything you and your buddies always reminisce on or bring up to poke fun at each other? I'd love to hear them. Anyway, I appreciate all the hard work that each of you put into your streams and into the podcast. And I appreciate you too, Cheese Pops. Love y'all. Bye.
I feel like we have so many voicemails that end with, and you too, Pops. You too.
It's just nice to be included. I'm okay with being the weird kid.
The campaign is not over. I'm telling you, like, we need an answer before the end of the podcast.
I want back.
There's going to be a 21. Like, this is what he's here for it.
It's not looking good for me. I just looked at Poncho and he's like, dude, we were going to have the talk with him after this episode. And now that's going to make it a little more awkward.
A little more awkward. All right. So, awesome member of the community, J Major 7 has asked us this question. Do we have any tales of conquest or mischief or anything that happened with our buddies that we always reminisce about when we're hanging out? Just like a legendary moment in our past. Ash, I already saw you raising your hand. Why don't we start with you if you have anything?
As far as childhood mischief goes, and I know that I've mentioned this before, I got to talk about Conqueror's Bad Fur Day for a second for the N64, because my parents bought this game for my brother for Christmas, and he was so young. He maybe 9, 10, 11, somewhere in there, having no idea what it was. And he started the game, and if you've played the game before, it is very much a game that makes you say, how did Nintendo let this slip through the cracks? It is very adult. There are a lot of very adult themes in the game. But we took it with stride. My parents laughed at it. And they basically said, hey, Ashley, big sister, just watch him, make sure everything's okay. And I was like, all right. Me and my brother, I don't think we ever laughed like that in our whole lives with that playthrough. I mean, we to this day in our 30s still laugh and recite recite lines from that game almost every time that we're together. So I feel like that game really like solidified a bond between me and my brother where we were kind of like, we're gonna look out for each other. We don't have to tell mom and dad everything. And I really and truly will never forget how much my parents would have been offended by 90% of the content in that game and not just the little bit that they saw. So I was responsible and I was very irresponsible.
It's a good big sister right there. Like, you have to. There's lines you just gotta, like, I don't know what the phrase is, but like, brothers and sisters got to stick together. Like, the parents are the bad guys in this situation.
Oh yeah, I was the cool big sister for sure. Still am.
So I was 25 at the time, but I lived like a mile away, maybe like 2 miles away from my mother-in-law, future mother-in-law, not at this time's house. So she lived, quite a bit away, but close enough that I would walk my dog to her house every day, walk up on her porch, grab her decorative bench on her porch and start moving it. And it started at 1 inch at a time. And every day I'd come back, it'd be back to its original place. And so I'd move it 3 inches back to its original place. This went on for a year. And I remember the day I spun it the full way around. She's going to blow her gasket. And I come back the next day. It is on the opposite side of the porch. It is nowhere near where it's been for half a year. And I start moving it more and more ridiculous places. And she has no idea it's me, this guy that's dating her daughter. And I will never forget walking with my wife, the dog, because she came with me that day. And I go, hold on. And I walk up on the porch and move the bench in front of her. And her face, she goes stark white. She goes, oh my God, it's you. Because apparently her mom has been railing against the mailman who is constantly moving stuff on her porch. And she is considering like calling the post office, filing complaints against this poor mailman. And she's like, you have to tell her she's going to get a guy fired. Like, this is escalating. And I'm like, not yet. Let me milk this out a little bit more. But I go up to the mother-in-law's boyfriend at the time, like, hey, Ben, buddy, just want to let you know that it's me who's doing this. He goes stark white. And I'm like, if it gets to the point where she's going to do something dangerous, don't, because it's just me. Literally 3 hours later, he texts me like, I had to tell her. We were going to Lowe's to buy glue traps. She was going to put like glue rat traps on the bench so the mailman or myself would get stuck. And she was not happy with me for a year. And to this day, she holds a grudge. But it was the only good prank that I've ever done in my life. It was a year-long one. And knowing her OCD and how things would be perfect, the best day was when I came back and it was on. She moved it. You know what? Fine. If you can't leave it here and not move it, she moved it to the other side of the porch and I still just skewed it. That's my story, but that's my mischief.
God.
That's amazing.
That's great.
I think my wife said yes when I asked her to marry me solely because I did that. I can't think of anything else I bring to the table.
I was trying to think of something because I'd seen this voicemail earlier, and do you know what's always kind of funny to watch? You put your friends like in a moment of panic, is when you're like at a red light and you put on their e-brake without them noticing, and they're just sitting there waiting for the light to turn, and then it turns and they try to go and nothing's working. They start panicking, and you're just sitting there, and people are starting to honk at you and stuff, and. I was just thinking about stuff like that we used to do to each other. Like, there's nothing more panicking than the light turns green and your car's not going. You're like, what's going on? People are honking at you, freaking out. And you just sit there with the e-brake on, and it is just the stupid things we used to do. That's like, it's not really safe, but we used to do stupid things like that. Oh, man. Do you have anything, Dangil?
I mean, there's always like I have a few friends that I've been friends with since I was 4. So it's been, quite a bit. And so there's a lot of stories like regarding whatever life, what was happening, but video games too. They were so central, right? I have a friend who attributes me being good at games as his own thing, that he says that he made that happen. And the story is Final Fantasy VII, 1997. He gets the Japanese version of Final Fantasy VII, and we're seeing the game for the first time, and they give me the controller. So the first boss that you face in Final Fantasy VII is the scorpion thing, right? And there is a prompt on screen that tells you, do not attack when the tail is up because it will counter. The game's in Japanese, and I can recognize 1 or 2 of the syllables, but I can't read it. So I keep attacking. I die. He takes the controller, he looks at me, and he says, "You're so bad at games." For some reason, I took it very personally. Very personally. I went home. I got the game, right? Like the next week or so, I bought the game and I sat down and played through the entire Final Fantasy VII, and I maxed out every stat possible. And I took the memory card to his place and I was like, this is it.
Slap it down.
Exactly. So he says that, yeah, he made me good at games just because he called me bad at games, right? So there's that, and they will never forget about it. It was just me being a child, but
I love that you hate 100% of the game. You like hate played it to 100%, and then just to prove him wrong.
The funny thing is, I love that game. Like one of my tattoos is from that game, but I was still mad. Right? Nobody's gonna call me that way, except maybe comments in YouTube. But nobody else is gonna call me that way, right? So
That's amazing. That's amazing.
At least it was in Japanese. Like we had a prompt in Wii Bowling on the Wii U that said, "Hey, you're in automatic mode. If you want to put spin on the ball, change it to manual." And this prompt would come up every time before we bowled. My wife and I, for 3 hours. I'm like, we can't figure it. It's not working. We're unplugging it. It's telling us every time the problem. But because I am such a gamer, like, I don't need your tutorial, Nintendo. Get out of here. And it's just because I refuse to read. It's Wii Bowling. I don't need text.
I don't need to read.
The funny thing is, you know what the funny thing is? That fight in Final Fantasy VII in English is mistranslated. And it tells you the tail is up. Attack when the tail is up. Because of mistranslation. So it actually makes you get the counter. It gets you killed if you follow that prompt. It is that's dumb,
hilarious.
Right?
That's great.
I love mistranslations. I'll go down YouTube rabbit holes of the like just terrible like congratulations, like all that stuff. It was a better time.
But that was the main reason why I got into linguistics so much. I studied linguistics and I went that route in academia because of I wanted to be in localization. I just it's such a small, very difficult thing to get into that at the end I ended up just doing a lot of things with that except localization, which was what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Working Designs was wild company.
But it was yeah. One of the reasons, like companies like Working Designs and the things that they brought in the 90s, and the fact that there is a game. So in Latin America, anime started becoming very popular in the 80s, right? And there was a series called Captain Tsubasa, which is about soccer, right? Football. And it's huge in Japan. And it was huge in Latin America. So you will see kids you're trying to play soccer like the anime series and trying to do this super special shots and all these things, right? I was one of those kids, right? That's when I started drawing and copying the drawings and selling them like photocopies at school. That was like the first way I made money ever. And like big fan of this thing. We got the game imported, the Famicom cartridge, so it's in Japanese, and it's a football game, but it's an RPG. It's the weirdest thing ever,
Wow.
right? It's super weird.
That is bizarre.
But it's in Japanese. So me and my brother, what we do is that we sit down and we memorize the little symbols, and we understand what they do comparing to what happens in game, right? So we kind of make our own notes, and then we realize that there are passwords too to keep our progress, to save our progress. It's just password. The password system is 45 syllables in Japanese that you would have to try to write from a CRT from the 70s, an 8-bit machine. It was really hard, but we tried to keep track of those things, which prompted me, eventually to just like learn a little bit of Japanese and study languages and try to understand what was going on. Because it was the same with video games. I was stuck in A Link to the Past for a year because I didn't speak English and I didn't know what they were asking me to do, right? So the story, I'm 6 years old, 7 years old, and I'm playing video games with a dictionary next to me.
Oh,
and
wow.
This is all I'm doing. I'm just translating these words, and it's like, okay, I get it. And then I move on. And then it takes me this path of like those two things that I try to keep parallel for so long, which is languages and academia, which is what I do, and video games. That is my passion, but it's much, much bigger part of my life than anything else is, I think, Sorry, I don't know why I ended up saying these things. I'm sorry. I talk too much.
No, love it.
Well, you wouldn't even tell that English is a second language for you or anything. You're very fluent over the many years. That's our voicemail, guys. 402-915-1082. You can send in a voicemail. It might be featured on a future episode. We also do accept text messages. And Ashley, I believe we did receive a text message. If you wouldn't mind reading one out for us.
Sure, we sure did. This one comes to us from our very own Piano Bar 77, who I believe was saying the other day she was our first voicemail ever back in the day. She says, for everyone, how do you see Super Mario World Kaizo progressing these next few years? Grand Poo 03 recently released, and we know Jez Cook is working again on Invictus 2, but are there any perhaps easier hacks you're aware of on the near or far horizon?
I don't know. Question. Yeah, I don't know about anything that's like easier. Like easier tends to go a little under the radar, like as far as releases, because people get hyped about really difficult ones, especially from known creators. Like I know for me, for example, a goal that I have is before it releases is to, and I know they're kind of boomerish, but Dram 1 and 2, I'd like to play those before the third one releases slated for 2025. But again, that's going to be like a high level release when it comes out. Like everyone's going to be playing it because it's, it's made by Panga, very difficult ROM hack creator, known for his difficult levels and stuff like that. And my goal is to play the first two before that comes out at some point here. But like for the easier, they tend to go a little under the radar. And it's one of those things that as you're checking SMW Central, it's like, oh, it's more of a word of mouth when a really good, easier one comes out. I don't know, does anybody know of even in intermediate, maybe? I know Invictus is technically intermediate, so I guess 2 could be intermediate as well. I don't know.
I do. I have things to say about this. Kaizo is one of these things that I became very passionate about now, and that I take in an approach that is very personal and it's very much to my stream. And is I started this as a journey, and I was learning every day, right? And that was the way I was streaming it too. It's like, okay, we're learning today this thing. We're doing this practice. It's all practice, And as I started getting better, I never let go of that portion of like my Kaizo streams. So I tend to play also a lot of beginner hacks just to see if it's something I would recommend people. Because thanks to me playing these things, some people started playing Kaizo as well, and they started their own Kaizo journey, as we call it. And it's following recommendations or watching what I'm playing. So I always keep an eye on beginner hacks and lower intermediate ones. So I have like a big range of things to recommend people. And I try to be, like fair to the creators as well, because you end up with having a lot of creators in your stream as well, and you want to be fair to them. You don't want to say mean things for the sake of saying mean things, right? But I think some interesting things are happening also in the beginner and intermediate. I think Invictus 2 is going to be higher intermediate, probably like a high intermediate, maybe like a low expert, according to what Juzza said. But this year we just had the release of Gamble 2 by Jitsu, which is a beautiful ROM hack. It is an intermediate ROM hack. It's solid mid-intermediate. It's more difficult than the original Gamble. But Sauna Mario 2 is coming out this year. Fresh Hops 2 is coming out this year by Mori and by Panaha, both phenomenal people and creators.
Absolutely.
And these hacks were more or less on the lower side of the intermediate. There is one very recent release called Nuatepra, which is a hack by Oct and Aclay. The normal difficulty of this, the standard one as they call it, is a solid mid-intermediate, mid to high intermediate, but they offer an option of a beginner. They put the work in it, and in the hack, you can select beginner, and it will take the same stages, all the levels, all the, 22 levels or whatever, but with easier setups. Some things are removed, it goes a little bit slower really and whatnot.
That's
so
nice.
There are options and things are happening, and I think things that we can recommend. So keep an eye out for, things like, because it's easy to just keep an eye on the bigger creators and get hyped about these things. And it's like, oh my God, this big streamer is releasing this new thing. And it's like, there's a lot going on and a lot of people working hard on these things, even though they're a little bit less known or mostly unknown in many cases. But so, some things are happening. So keeping an eye out on Sauna 2, Fresh Hops 2 is a good idea.
Going back to one that you mentioned, Gamble 2, you did the artwork for it, didn't you?
Without realizing that I was doing it. Yes. Because I played Gamble 1 and it instantly became one of my favorite hacks that the ones I have played. And the creator was in chat during my playthrough, I think towards the end. Very kind person. He joined my Discord server and he was there and whatnot. He was enjoying my playthrough, and I was very thankful. And then one day, between commissions and things and work and emotes and whatever, I was like, I want to do something for Gamble. And I did this art and I showed it to him, and he was incredibly, surprised by it. I didn't know it was going to end up being the art for Gamble 2. But it did. And I'm also in the credits of this hack, baby.
Cool.
So cool.
So that was very cool. It was a very cool, touching moment. Yeah.
I have to say really quick, when I'm in your streams, Dangil, when you're playing beginner Kaizo, and I certainly appreciate this because I still certainly consider myself a beginner, you will break down setups for people and say, this is not vanilla. This is definitely something a beginner could do. This should not be a first hack, but it's beginner. And if you're somebody out there who's listening to the podcast and you're like, wow, I've always wanted to get into Kaizo, Dangil is a great stream to go to because he will play things but below his skill level for sure, and play easier stuff just to break it down for people and show the community this in such a fair way. This setup is a little more difficult, and this one's definitely one that's a great first hack. So I always appreciate that about your streams.
Thank you. But yeah, I think it's a fair thing to do. It's a nice thing to do for other people. It's very easy to get caught into, I know these things. I've seen it 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. So this is easy for me. I don't need to explain it, or I don't need to, or you kind of belittle the other things. And it's like, that's for babies, or it's not. We all started at some point. Even if you started with the hardest hack imaginable, you were a beginner at some point, right? You were taking a different approach, which is fair. If it works for you, that's perfect. But we were all beginners. And Kaizo is scary. If you see it for the first time, you're like, I don't know what I'm looking at. What is this thing? Yep. Is this actual Super Mario World? I don't know. So, it's fair to just give people this is not, and this is what it is, and this is your options, and
One of the funniest comments I've seen is everybody's familiar with a Taz play of a really difficult Kaizo ROM hack or something. Taz is tool assisted I don't know, software or something like that, where basically you're able to take ROM hacks frame by frame and do absolutely perfect. So you have like the most direct, the fastest speed runs possible. It's not actually playing. You get an emulator and you go frame by frame basically, and then you create a video and upload, and everyone thinks it's fun to watch. I was watching a Taz of Grand Poo World 3, and I think one of the comments on there was like, "This is what video game review sites think Kaizo is." when they come over and they don't understand, they're like, "This is what everybody thinks Kaizo looks like when they first see Kaizo. This is just what we're doing," which it's not. And then as you get into it, you start to understand, oh, it's not, you know. And I mean, that is what it looks like. And that comment just cracked me up when I read that.
But it's true. There is a meme that we run within my stream as well. Is that YouTube Dangil is so good at Kaizo?
Yes. Yeah.
Because YouTube Dangil is only winning, right? That's it. Like you only see the win. You don't see the 100,000 times I died in game before I got that.
True.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
What's nuts is when speedrunners like they die so many times that like and this happens, like it's weird. Like I know how to do all of the tricks, but until I do them all in order over and over again, then now I can beat the level on like my next try. And it's so weird. I don't know the science behind it, but like this is really hard, but I know how to shell jump. I know how to double shell jump. I know how to do this. But for some reason, every level it like resets and you have to relearn how to do it for how that level wants you to do it. And it's so fun to go back, you know, the fluke check. Can I do it again? And when you do it, like it took me an hour to beat this level and I just beat it 3 times in a row because now it's in my thumb's brains.
I call that the Dark Souls boss syndrome, which is just muscle memory. Like a boss will take you, 100 tries before you kill it, and then you finally do it. And I promise you, on your second playthrough, it's gonna take you 10 or less. And you know,
it's so fun. It's so cool.
It's
but then you get frustrated when you get to the next level. You're like, I gotta learn everything again. You're killing me.
Yes.
But that's the best part.
All right. Well, again, that's our phone number. If you do want to send us a voicemail or text message for a future episode, is 402-915-1082. We'd love to hear from you guys. And at this time, we're coming up on time, friends. We're coming up on time. So I think we're going to use this these last few moments here to kind of one of my favorite parts is going around the room and letting everybody do a little bit of self promo to talk about, some cool things that they have going on, where we can find each other and our guests and stuff like that, to let our listeners know, we're on the podcast, but we also do other things that they might be interested in. I typically like to kind of go around the room like we did at the opening here. So we'll start with Ashley. Ashley, why don't you tell us where people can find you? What if you have anything cool coming up, let us know.
Well, you can find me on twitch.tv/Ashley with 2 E's _FL. You can go to ashleyfl.com as well. It has the links to everything. I have a YouTube I put daily content out on. I have a TikTok as well. I'm currently streaming Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm doing SMW Kaizo during the week. Retro on Saturdays, which I'm currently doing Donkey Kong Country 1 through 3. 2 and 3 are first place for me. And Sundays I'm doing some Ocarina of Time randomizers, which are like my favorite thing ever now. I'm on my 3rd one and it's super hard. And all I really have coming up is my birthday stream on May 2nd. Everything else, ashleyfl.com.
Awesome. Pops, what about you? Where can we find you?
So I feel bad. The last episode of like every Sunday I'm playing Super Mario World, Cheese Pops on Twitch. There's an extra P in there. You'll find me. I'm the loud guy. No one's looking for me. But like I said, every Sunday. And since then I've done one and I went to a wedding. Then we have Easter. Now it's WrestleMania. So this Sunday you're not going to find me, but that's okay because this comes out on Monday. So this Sunday you will find me. Arcade Parlor Sundays are back, and it's going to be consistent. I have nothing else planned, I promise, but I'm going to be playing Super Mario World ROM hacks. I've been a Maker 2 streamer. I will be a Maker 2 streamer because it's super easy to get folks levels, and I love that. The interaction is great, but it's finally, I got into streaming because of Grand Poo World 2, and I'm like, when Grand Poo World 3 comes out, I'm going to be ready for it, and then I just didn't do anything. So I'm finally dipping my toes into ROM hacks, and it's super fun. So Sundays, Arcade Parlor Sundays are back. And if you want to watch someone be terrible at video games and you can backseat away, I think my tag is backseating required. Help me beat these levels because I do love it and we'll get there. And that's it. I got the schedule's back, baby. Sundays, Sunday.
And Dangil, where as our guest here, where can our listeners find you? What are you doing?
Well, you can find me on Twitch at Dangil, so twitch.tv/Dangil. And I stream from Monday to Saturday, so 6 days a week. I start streams at 3 p.m. Central European time, or that's 9 a.m. Eastern time, I believe.
Yep.
And yeah, I go for 7 and some hours per day. So I'm there on Twitch. That's where I will be. Also, you can join if you want. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, which is youtube.com/DangilYT. And where I'm uploading, shorts and Kaizo stuff and whatnot. And we do have something coming soon. My birthday and the anniversary of the stream as an affiliate is happening on April 20th. So that's Saturday, April 20th. Yes, I know about the date. It's not on purpose. It was the best Saturday available. Okay. We're gonna have a celebration that day, and it's gonna go for a little bit longer. So we'll start earlier than usual, and we're gonna go for a little bit longer. Bunch of surprises too, and art stuff and things like that. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Your awesome. YouTube mascot is the best thing I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
I just went over to subscribe. I didn't know you had a YouTube, and now I'm fired up. Dude, you're gonna have to block me just to keep the Skies of Arcadia talk out of your stream.
No, please.
I'm fighting so hard, just taking this.
What's the mascot right now of the YouTube channel? I think it's my Dangil OK emote, isn't it? I
think.
The
thumbs up,
the
dude.
Thumbs up.
So just super quick. I make my own emotes, and I make some art on stream sometimes, and usually it's like much more polished type of art and more polished emotes. But one day we were just joking on stream, and I was like, you know what you want, guys? You want something like this. So I just drew this like doodle thingy of myself, just giving a thumbs up, and people loved it. And then that's when my low effort arc began on my emotes for my own channel, of course. It's the low effort ones, and they love them. So yeah, I'm embracing the low effort. Yeah, that's it.
That's my best awesome. Emote that I have. I just put it in our chat. I put a lot of time and effort into one, nothing, and then I draw a stick figure face, and they're like, yes,
that's the best emote ever.
So good. As for me, twitch.tv/Poncho Taco. I'm about to beat Grand Poo World 3 any day. Copium. Eventually it's gonna end. We are so close. I'm on the puzzle. 3/4 of the clues uncovered, and then I'll figure out the puzzle. And then we got a long grind ahead of us on the Bowser fights. But it's gonna be amazing once that hack is done. And like almost 200 hours on that thing. That's insane. So come hang out. Would love to have you there. Twitch.tv/Poncho Taco. Give all of us a follow if you're not. Come hang out when you do have the time. We'd love to see you. We all have great shows going on, and we'd love to see each and every one of you there as you are able to. With that said, this has been episode 20. We've been doing this for a while. Dangil, it was awesome to have you on here. I was excited to get you on here. I've been kind of mentioning it to the crew, for the past couple months. I think we should get Dangil on here sometime. And eventually it worked out, and we were able to get you on here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Because this has been great, and I was just honored to be here. So thank you so much to all of you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, dude, you're awesome. Your voice is incredible. I can listen to it all day. And I'd like to piggyback on what Ashley said. If you are a ROM hack creator, go to Dangil's stream, because he will give you feedback that is not mean or self-serving. It is honest feedback. And like, it's just, dude, I'm so glad Ashley and Ponch introduced me to your stream. It's such a chill, fun place, man. I'm excited to be there more often.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, want to talk Skies of Arcadia. It was a lie.
Also, Poncho, you got this. Grand Poo World 3 will fall soon. I believe in you. But also, I need an answer. Episode 21 of my boy, or what is happening?
Am I coming back?
Yeah, I think we can bring him back. I think we can. He was all right today. He was all right today.
Okay, we did it. Let's go.
He was all right.
Daniel, that was awesome. You saved me an extra episode. Thanks, buddy.
Dude, I got you.
With that said, to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. To those who were able to come in live, we love seeing you guys here chatting away while we're having a good time here. And to our listeners who are listening on the podcast, when you download this, give us 5 stars. You clearly like what you're listening to. We'd love to see 5 stars from you. It helps us out, helps get us, on people's radars and stuff like that. So, with that said, it's been episode 20. We will see you guys live in a month. Adios. Bye-bye. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Peace.
Adios.